Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. These are very interesting and concerning times, and it's always difficult to find a way to interact with each other in ways that we continue to add value. As part of what we are trying to do as a company and in collaboration with friends from the industry, trying to find creative ways where we can continue to communicate with each other, look at opportunities of enabling more value. And today's session is hopefully one of many where we talk about trends in the industry, what's going on. Most of you who joined the webinar have met or have known Eric for a long time. The Warranty weekly newsletter has been an absolutely awesome way for us to understand different trends and understand the industry with respect to a space that is not very well understood overall. So thank you again for joining. Today we're going to focus on trends in the automotive industry with respect to warranty. We continue as Tavant to find more creative, innovative ways to initiate a lot of conversation in today's environment. And today's session is one such initiative. So please bring a cup of coffee, join us, and please continue to interact through the course of the session today. Over to you, Eric.
Thank you very much, Roshan. I'm in New York City. I'm in my office. I'm in the borough of Queens, if any of you know New York City. We're under lockdown here. We're not supposed to go outside except to get food or exercise or medical help. But through the wonders of the internet, we're going worldwide with this, and we're hoping actually to do it on a weekly basis. It's sad about what's happening in the world, but the timing is it's really good timing because many companies finish their fiscal year at the end of December, and it takes them a month or two, sometimes 3, to put out their annual reports. So most of the annual reports came out at the end of February or in March. And what I've been doing is collecting data from those annual reports, and it's almost all completed now. I have about 1,000 companies, give or take, that I've been looking at. And today I wanted to look at the automotive industry, the U.S. automotive industry in some future week, probably one of the April Fridays. We'll look at the European automotive industry, and then later on, maybe, I don't know, June, July, if we're still doing this on a weekly basis, we'll look at Asia and China, specifically Japan, India, Korea, and we'll put it all together into a worldwide set of numbers for you. So what I do is I take the annual report of all these companies, I look through the notes, and I find the warranty spending data. Usually the company reveals 3 essential metrics. One is the amount of claims that they have paid for their warranty work in the past year. The second is the amount of accruals that they have made. That's the money that they set aside for future expenses. And then, of course, the balance in the reserve fund, the warranty reserve fund, which they use to, pay these claims. And also I collect data on the amount of product sales, the product revenue. In this case, of course, it's automotive. We're looking at companies that make not only parts, but engines and transmissions. Later on in the slide deck, I'll show you some of the data on the finished vehicles. And there we're looking at everything from motorcycles and golf carts to cars, passenger cars, pickup trucks, SUVs, and then onto the bigger vehicles, the trucks, the vocational vehicles, the on-highway tractor trailers, the construction equipment, farm equipment, all the big vehicles, fire engines, buses, recreational vehicles as well. Once again, it's only this week we're only looking at companies based in the United States that report in US dollars. There are many suppliers based in Europe and Asia that import to the United States. Some of them have even opened up factories here. But we'll leave them for another day. We'll leave them for another week because I don't really want to mix the currencies. You'll see a lot of data here on US companies. It's all in US dollars, and it's all in calendar years. So if a company should have a different year than January to December, I'm looking at just the reports that they're doing in the calendar year. So I have to shift everything there. Let's see if this is working now. We'll go to, well, that's me. Here we're looking at the past 17 years of just the suppliers. Now what I've done is there's about 120 suppliers in the US that are reporting their warranty expenses. About 100 of them are making all sorts of, brakes and glass and panels, interiors, seating, lighting, electricity, what have you, and about 20 of them are making powertrain components such as the engines, transmissions, the axles. And even though there's only about 20 of the powertrain suppliers, as you can see here, their warranty expenses are much higher, and they're almost, well, in some years it's even more so, they're almost half the industry. In 2019, the powertrain suppliers paid about $1.073 billion in claims. That was up around 18%. The other parts suppliers paid about $780 million, and that was up about 10%. As you can see here, it was the largest ever annual amount of claims paid by the powertrain suppliers. And for the other group, it was the largest since 2012. As for individual companies, let me tell you some of the stories here. The big story in the powertrain side is Cummins. They make diesel engines, and they've been having an incredibly hard time getting those diesel engines to comply with government emissions standards. As a result, they're paying warranty claims. In 2018, they paid $443 million in warranty claims. In 2019, that rose by almost a third to $590 million. That's quite a radical increase. The other ones that were up a lot are Eaton and LKQ Corporation. And on the other category, the other parts suppliers, Westinghouse Air Brake Technologies more than doubled. Carlisle was up a lot. LCI Industries was up a lot. And some of the cuts, some of the companies that successfully cut their warranty claims totals included Borg Warner, Brunswick, Wabco, Allison Transmission, and Illinois Toolworks. Let's go on to the second slide. We're looking at a different metric now. We're looking at the amount of warranty accruals made. And what happens here is that you make the accruals 1 year and you spend the money the next year. So you can see that in the powertrain category, for instance, 2018 was the big year because that's when Cummins put the money aside and now they're spending it. So actually the powertrain category came in at $994 million. That was down about 30%. The other category was up around 10% to $769 million. So what you see is the accruals happen first, and then there's a bit of lag time, and a year later, give or take, that money is actually spent on warranty work. Now, what I've done also is I mentioned to you that I've taken the sales figures from all of these companies, all their sales revenue figures, and I take the amount of claims divided by sales, and then again I take the amount of accruals divided by sales. I get percentage rates. So if you're spending 1% of your revenue on warranty claims, you're doing pretty well. If you're spending 5% of your revenue on warranty claims, that's got to hurt. And if you're spending less than 1% on warranty claims, you're doing pretty good. You know, that's a very low rate that you really only see in a few corners of the industry. What you're looking at here is the powertrain companies. And you can see that spike in 2018, the green line really going really high. That is Cummins. That's the problem that Cummins had. They realized it in the middle of 2018, 2 years ago now. They put the money aside, and now they're spending it. The claims ended 2019 at 1.07%, which was a bit high. The accrual rate was 0.97%, just under 1%. Also, I wanted to mention to you, back in 2009, you see the red line went through the roof. That was the recession. What happened there was it wasn't so much that claims went up, it's that revenue went down. So that's what happens when that fraction changes. It went over 1.5%. So there's a bit of difference between what happened in 2009 to the claims rate and what happened in 2018 to the accrual rate. Now we're looking at the other parts suppliers. The same math is going into this. We're taking claims and accruals and dividing by sales. What you see on this chart is generally downward. I mean, you see that the numbers are generally trending downward from 0.6% back in 2003 to 2005, 0.5% in 2011, 2012. Then you see a series of, just spikes and troughs going on in 2016, 2017, 2018. Both of these expense rates ended 2019 at around 0.5%. And that's about average. That's about where they've been in terms of averages. Let's see. Next, we're going to look at Warranty Reserve Fund year-ending balance. So I've taken the 100 parts suppliers and the 24 powertrain suppliers. I've added them all together, and you can see what we have here. We have the powertrain with $3.11 billion in the bank, in the warranty reserve funds of these companies. That's up about 23% from 2018. The other category, $986 million, that's up about 6.2% from 2018 level. What I want to point out to you here is that the powertrain manufacturers have been rising. I think it's 15 out of the last 17 years it's actually gone up. And when it's gone down, it's only gone down by a very, very small fraction. And they ended 2019 with the most ever. That's very important because the trend, you can see it here, the trend is up, up, up. Now we're looking at the other side of the industry. This is the finished vehicles. These are companies like on the car side, you have General Motors, Ford, Tesla, Harley Davidson, many other motorcycle and small vehicle manufacturers. You have Polaris, who's making off-road ATVs as well as on-road the three-wheel vehicles that you might see on the road sometime. Several other manufacturers. They dominate the industry, as you can see here, the small vehicle manufacturers. But then there's also the truck manufacturers. And These, again, are just the U.S.-based truck manufacturers. So it's mainly PACCAR, Navistar, Deere, Caterpillar, AGCO, several other companies. It does not include Daimler or Freightliner. That will be in the European section we'll do in April. It also does not include Volvo or Mack Truck. Once again, we'll defer that until the European section in a couple of weeks. So this is just the U.S. vehicle industry, the OEMs as they call them. The car industry, the small vehicle industry, paid $8.17 billion in claims last year. That's up about 5% from 2018. The truck manufacturers paid $3.163 billion. That was up about 10% from the previous year. We'll move on to another metric. This is warranty claim. This is warranty accruals for the vehicle makers. Two things I want to point out to you here. First is you can really see the recession in 2009. That's because the nature of the industry is that the companies make their accruals based on their predictions of how much they will need in the years ahead to pay for warranty work. So in 2009, all of their projections were we won't need much. So you see that's a real low in terms of warranty accruals. The other thing I wanted to point out to you is 2014. There's a real spike in the data for the car manufacturers. That's mostly due to General Motors. They had an incredibly large problem with their ignition keys, and there was a big recall. There was a whole lot of expenses being generated there, and what GM did was they put the money aside in 2014, which they then spent in 2015, 2016, and a little bit into 2017. So the accruals come first, the claims come later. And of course, both of those are the deposits and withdrawals, if you will, into the warranty reserve fund. So it's a bit like a checking account or a bank account of some kind, where the deposits are the money that you think you'll need, and the withdrawals are the expenses, the actual warranty work as it's done. Let's see, what the total here is $6.8 billion for the car manufacturers. That's up about 9% from 2018. The truck manufacturers, $3.4 billion. That's up about 13%. Now we'll jump to the expense rates of these guys. Once again, you can see it very clearly here. You see the recession in red in 2009. You see the GM recalls in green in 2014. In 2019, however, expense rates are rising again. Let's face it. You know, they were down, they were low. 2015, 16, 17. They began to rise in 2018 and into 2019. We ended 2019 at a rate of 2.7% for the claims rate, 2.2% for the accrual rate. That's a little bit higher than average. It's higher than it's been certainly in the last couple of years. This is just for the small vehicles. This is for the car manufacturers. Now we're looking at the truck manufacturers. And I should mention that although Cummins is an engine manufacturer, so therefore they're a supplier, when they sell an engine to a customer, usually they provide the warranty directly to that customer. It's different from the car industry where the cars usually have a bumper-to-bumper warranty that covers the entire vehicle. With a truck, it's very common to see the engine have a separate warranty from the transmission, which has a separate warranty from the chassis, which has a separate warranty from the trailer. That carries over into the recreational vehicle industry, where inside the unit you might have a separate warranty for the appliances, for the heating or the air conditioning, for the refrigeration, the toilet, all the other components of the recreational vehicle. They might have their own separate warranties. So it's very different from the car industry where you get just one warranty from the manufacturer that takes care of everything. So as a result of this, the large vehicles, the truck manufacturers, have a generally lower warranty expense than do the car manufacturers. It's not a lot lower, but it's a bit lower. And in 2019, they ended just around 2%, 2.0%, just below 2.0%. So that's about 0.7% in terms of the claims rate. It's about 0.2% difference in terms of the accrual rate from what you see in the car industry. Move on here now to warranty reserves. This is once again with cars and trucks. Warranty reserves nudged just past $20 billion. This is just for the US-based companies in 2019. That surpassed the previous record set in 2014, creating a new record above $20 billion for this industry. Cars were just over $15 billion. Trucks were 5.235 billion dollars. Both were up about 8% over 2018 levels. And one more slide. What I've done is I've taken all the data from Figure 1 and all the data from Figure 6 and combined it into a single slide. So what you're looking at here is the entire US-based automotive industry. This is the powertrain suppliers, the other suppliers, the car and small vehicle manufacturers, and the truck and large vehicle, the construction equipment, the farm equipment manufacturers, and the vocational truck manufacturers all put together. So what you see here is this is for claims. In 2019, they paid out $13.186 billion in claims. That was up about $900 million over 2018 levels. So that's an increase of about 7.3%. And as you can see, that brings them just past the previous high level that they set in 2007-2008. So I don't know if you should look at expenses as a good thing or a bad thing, but expenses are at a record level now. Fortunately, as you saw in the previous slides, that percentage of revenue going towards these expenses is not at a record level, but it is at a concerning level because it keeps on rising. That's where to find me, Forest Hills, New York, in the borough of Queens. I think we have a couple of minutes for questions. Roshan, will you be running that?
No, Eric, you can continue. We'll see if we have a few questions. Okay. Any questions?
And also, you can follow up with email questions if you'd prefer that. And especially if you're looking for, precise numbers that I don't have handy, I'd rather, take some time to look it up for you. As I said, all this data is in a database, and I'm just about to finish the gathering of the 2019 data. Next week is the end of the first quarter, and that traditionally is the date that the companies in Japan and India finish their fiscal years. So 8 weeks, 10 weeks from now, we'll be getting data from Toyota and Tata and Honda and all the other Japanese and Indian manufacturers. So we'll probably put that together for sometime in the summer, probably June or July.
Thank you, Eric, for this, and hope things continue to get better. Stay safe and have a good weekend, everyone.